Hello, good morning, you guys. I'm gonna do a quick live because yeah, 1 to 2. I got an appointment at 2:30. I know I was up with you guys last night. My mama called and woke me up early this morning. I couldn't even talk to her, but I wanted to get on to talk about Juneteenth and just kind of celebrate some of our ancestors right quick. Y'all know that's my thing. Like, I love to eat and feast on just reading about our ancestors. This is one of my things hey, Daryl Brown, that I love to do, like in my downtime, like to read about our ancestors and all of that good stuff, right? I love to do that. Hey, Miss Muffin. Hey, positive vibes. So I want to talk about a few people. Okay. I think it's a good thing to celebrate our ancestors. I think we don't celebrate those persons and the shoulders. We stand on the shoulders of a lot of those people, right? And so today is Juneteenth. I'm off today, and I don't know why. I think because I'm always moving, and then when I'm sitting still, it's like I'm trying to re-energize myself. So I gotta get myself used to hey. I gotta get myself used to doing a lot of editing. Okay. I used to like sit for hours and hours and edit. I guess that's why now. But my time is very limited now, anyways. Like I have so much stuff going on. My time is limited. I don't really have time to sit still for hours and hours anymore. I'm always like on the move. And when I do sit still, I like to lay and look at the damn TV, like I said, to re-energize myself. But I wanted to celebrate a few of our ancestors. And Cornelia Crenshaw will be one. My dad's mentor, who was a civil rights activist in Memphis. My dad will be number 2. Okay, and then we'll randomly like pick. Like I love talking about Harriet Tubman. Okay, we'll talk about Harriet Tubman. And another person that I've been really getting into learning more about, because information on her is limited, although I'm so interested, always have been, has been Sojourner Truth. Okay. And I was looking at this documentary and I'm like, they're always trying to like um talk about like take away from our ancestors. In the documentary on A&E, they was like, well, we don't even really know if Sojourner Truth was a real person. She could have been like this fictional person. I was like, wow. you know like they're always trying to do that as it relates to our history. Okay, but I put my dad and Miss Crenshaw was a civil rights activist in Memphis, Tennessee, from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, right? And Miss Crenshaw, as a matter of fact, now I am over the organization that my father had left behind, and I had not been doing a whole lot with it, because every time I got ready to do something, like, it was disturbing to me that my dad was not there. But I think I'm really ready now, right? But she was an activist in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. She was like the Harriet Tubman of hey, she was like the Harriet Tubman of her time, right? At that time, she was like the modern day Harriet Tubman. And how Miss Crenshaw ended up getting into how she ended up getting into being an activist is that Miss Crenshaw, back in her day, Miss Crenshaw was kind of like a wealthy woman, right? She was wealthy. She was a part of that system she was in, right? And Miss Crenshaw, she had lived on Miss Crenshaw had lived downtown on I don't know why it is like, because my dad was trying to buy her property. A church had bought the land because they tore a house down, and the church my dad told my dad they would not sell him the land, which they probably pay a little bit of like $1,000 for, but told my dad, just build your building on our land, and we'll just let you have it. Like my dad was a darn fool, right? So that never happened. So hopefully, at some point, I can go back and revisit that with that particular pastor, and then get some people to help me to fund a building um, that her house was on. Okay, yeah, to find a building. I mean, and put a building on the land that her house was on. I would like to acquire that land. Sometimes as time goes on, people have a change of heart. Okay. And anyways, I could see it just as it's downtown. I could see it just as good. I don't know. I think my brain is so focused on talking about this, right? My dad used to always talk about it. Now, it's time for me to talk about it. And so, what ended up happening was Miss Crenshaw was a part of the system. So she was a Black woman that was in, and she saw what they was doing to Black people, right? Um, and so she decided to become an activist. And what ended up happening was they hated Miss Crenshaw because Miss Crenshaw had been in. And my dad said, she said, I decided, I'm a Black woman and I'm making good money, a good living for myself. Why should I continuously be a part of this system and watch what they are doing to my people? But what people need to understand, just like my dad had to understand later on, that service to your community is a thankless job. Okay. So Miss Crenshaw started, she became an activist because she knew all of the secrets of the politicians, and she started exposing them, right? She was really brave, okay? And what a lot of Memphians don't know is before Miss Crenshaw got out and fought by herself, a lot of poor Black people were sitting in the dark, right? So you had to pay all of your light bill. There was no extensions on your light bill or anything like that. Memphians don't even know that. Miss Crenshaw got out and fought by herself. She fought and filed a lawsuit against Memphis Light, Gas, and Water and won. She says that every month when poor Black people could not pay their light bill, Memphis Light, Gas, and Water, them and their children would be sitting in the dark. So what happened was Miss Crenshaw got out and she fought Memphis Light, Gas, and Water using her own resources, right? And she fought them so that they would have to put into their clause extensions and things of that nature, because Memphis Light, Gas, and Water is owned by the citizens of Memphis, right? So Miss Crenshaw did that on her own. And because she was a fighter, I was looking at the first documentary that my dad had did on Miss Crenshaw, when former mayor Willie Harrington said she was so brave, right? And I remember when my dad was putting up billboards all over the city with her on it. Hold on, y'all. This dog thing got a damn knife. How? I don't know. Y'all get ready to get it. Okay. A lot of people remembered how she fought. Okay. A lot of people remembered how she fought. And so later on in the 60s, when during the People's March, that was, like during what Dr. King's march was called, the People's March, right? So there was some things going on with the sanitation workers. And I'm going to tell you something, y'all. Our community has always had, for some reason, like that covetousness spirit, because Miss Crenshaw was the person who spearheaded the campaign to get Dr. Martin Luther King to Memphis to march for the sanitation workers. It's something, because when I pulled it up, okay, and y'all have to bear with me, like when I started going back through this stuff, and I'm so happy that I saved a lot of this stuff. When my stepmother figured out that my dad wanted me to continue on with the organization, she had access to my dad's laptop, and she had her son-in-law with his ass. He's a preacher. God don't give me, because I could say some real bad things about both of them, but I'm not going to. She had him to try to go across the internet and delete everything any traces of anything that my dad did as it relates to this organization, and talking about Miss Cornelia Crenshaw, her sitting over there sick, look like it'll be any day for her now. She had her son-in-law to do that, him looking like he half dead too, standing in the pulpit. That's what they did, okay? But I have to learn to get past that, because y'all know how my mouth is, because I'm not fake, okay? But anyways, I found some pictures, and I do still have a lot of that on like thumb drives at my so what they did, they didn't even have to do at my office. Hold on. This is Miss Crenshaw, okay? When during the sanitation strike. And they was marching, okay? They had a determination. They was marching, okay? They understood that unity was key in power. You see all of these people marching. Dr. King was in Memphis. She spearheaded that. What? This is Miss Crenshaw right here out there marching. She said, "Don't buy." So what they did was they was marching, and they were saying, "Don't buy from Wonder Bread," because they started withholding their resources, right? Almost put Wonder Bread out of business because Black people came together. It was like no justice, no peace. Okay, they decided we're not going to spend our Black dollars if we're not going to be equal, right? And so when they started marching, she spearheaded the campaign, the sanitation workers and all of that. She was on that board, and they got Dr. King to Memphis. And so when Dr. King came to Memphis, Dr. King always stayed at Miss Crenshaw's home the most of the time when he was in Memphis for the sanitation workers, right? To march for the sanitation worker strike. And so when I was a little girl, I remember that my dad used to, when she started training my dad on how to be a politician, she always called my dad Mr. Thompson. She never called him Rick. She always called him Mr. Thompson, and she always called him her son, right? She started training him. She had always told him, Mr. Thompson, I want to impart some things in you, because what we need leaders that will not sell out, that will be as strong as I am. See, the thing about Miss Crenshaw, the reason a lot of people don't know about Miss Crenshaw is because what they do with Black people is when you don't sell out, when you're strong and you don't sell out, they try and black you out and write you out of history, right? They don't want any more Black people that come behind you to ever know anything about you, right? They don't. So they try and black you out of history. And so that's why my dad says, I'm going to bring her legacy back up, and I want that legacy to live on through my daughters, so that other Black women, and really all women, but especially other Black women, can know that there was a sharp Black woman that stood tall, that was brave, and did not sell out. And so one of the things that my dad told me when he started to impart things into me and to invest knowledge and stuff into me, he was like, you something else, but your personality and your character, because you're so firm, okay, it's gonna come in handy for your people, the betterment of your community. And I know a lot of people get to talking about, well, it's all about me and my daughters and my granddaughters and stuff is growing up in the Memphis community, right? And so that's why we have an obligation to speak out and not be and not sell out for $1. That's why I always talk about people that do anything for money, right? Because we have children and grandchildren that we have to leave behind, and it is our obligation to impart some type of something, substance on the inside of them, right? And so my dad talked about, hey, Angel, hey, Edward. So my dad talked about how Miss Crenshaw, when my dad would stop at Miss Crenshaw's house on most Saturdays and stuff, and she would be imparting, and that's before he even started running for anything. Okay. She was getting him ready, right? She was telling him about the system. She was telling him how to fight. That's why my dad, I'm gonna tell you right now, when they talk about my dad now, they say he was a fierce leader. He didn't back down. He didn't sell out. He was unbought and bossed. Okay, that's why I work so hard, because my dad always told me, as long as you can't stop a person that's got their own resources. Okay, most people start to bend, okay, and compromise. Okay, that's why I'm always going to get certifications and licenses and everything. Okay, when there's a drought here, I bet you I'm gonna be making some money over here, right? So my dad was a fierce leader. He didn't back down from nothing. Okay. And I often talk about how when we did TV and radio, when they kicked us off the radio station, a particular radio station one week, we was on another radio station the next week. My dad popped his collar and said, "You can't, I got money. You can't stop a man that's got money. We just going to another radio station, and I'm gonna have them to come and set up everything in your office so that we can be on the radio from your office, right?" And so from my studio. And so my dad talked about how Miss Crenshaw said, "Mr. Thompson, that's right, black unity equals black power." And you have so many people that's willing to destroy their own people in their own community, okay, for an enemy, right? For an enemy. But we'll talk about that later. But and so my dad says that Miss Crenshaw would often, Miss Crenshaw like gave my dad notes, and they burned the house down when Miss Crenshaw got sick. Let me just say this: when Miss Crenshaw got sick, okay, Miss Crenshaw had so many files and everything. She told my dad when she was in the hospital, "Mr. Thompson, I want you to go and get all of my files and stuff. These are things that I don't know who that is. These are things that they told that Dr. King, like a lot of stuff that she just had, right? That would be that would be jewels now as it relates to the 60s. And she told my dad, "I want you to go and I want you to get a U-Haul or whatever, or get a truck and take all my files and go in my house and load up everything." Don't y'all know when that lady was in the hospital sick, her house burned down mysteriously because they knew that this lady had all of those jewels, right? She had all of the information like on a lot of politicians and stuff around Memphis, and my dad was able to get that, right? It might be another reason why they really didn't want to. They started dying out, but then they was putting their kids and stuff in office. That's why my dad had said, a lot of the crooked politicians around Memphis, what they do is when they start to get old and get ready to they have to step down. What they start doing is grooming their children and putting them in office so that they can continue on that crooked stuff. He said, "So what I'm gonna do is, Gal," because my dad always called me Gal. "Look here, little Gal. This is what I'm gonna do. You got to get your emotions under control, but you got that loud mouth." He says, and you're stubborn. "So what I'm gonna start doing is I'm gonna start training you so that we can put you in office." Okay. He said, "We're gonna start training you." He said, "Just like the enemy trained their people, we gotta start training our own people, right? Somebody that's gonna really do something for our community and put them in office. That's what we're gonna start doing, right?" And so he said, "Please." And so my dad always told me, and this is one of the reasons why I don't bend. I think that's one of the reasons why I'm a loner, because I'm not gonna bend. I'm not gonna laugh and scratch my head when it's not itching. I'm not gonna laugh when it's not funny. Okay. I'm not one of those ones. And if you ask me, I'm gonna tell you. Okay. Yeah. I'm not laughing at no damn jokes that's partial racist. Okay, to try to get along with anybody. I'm gonna tell you about yourself. Okay. But I'm gonna do it respectfully, right? And so my dad said, "Let me tell you something, Gal." He said, "Let me tell you something, Gal. As long as the day you live, even when I'm off of this earth, you'll curse me in my grave if you ever sell your community out. Don't you ever do anything for money. And I don't ever want you to want anything so bad that you're willing to do anything for. That's why I never want nothing so bad. If I want it, I'll figure out a way to get it for myself. Okay. And so Miss Crenshaw talked to my dad, and my dad talked about how Miss Crenshaw says that when Dr. King would be at her home, those times that he came to Memphis, how really disgruntled he was. You know, how he was, sad, how he would talk to her because he knew that there was enemies that looked like him that was in his camp, Black people. He was out there on the front line, gave his life, had a young family, right? He was out there on the front line. And he had people that was within the people's movement that he knew was betraying him. He knew it. And Dr. King was hurt by that. Here he was about to give up his life for the betterment of his community. And he had people that was in the camp that was supposed to be working, that was jealous of him, right? That was betraying him and selling him out because of his jealousy. But he didn't let it discourage him. He didn't let it stop him. Okay. So my dad said Miss Crenshaw told him that Dr. King would say, but I can't stop. Because Dr. King had children. I can't stop. Right? So my dad said Miss Crenshaw would often talk about how she was sad about how they wanted for Dr. King. And that's one of the reasons that made me go back and really start. Because I remember when we was in school, hey, she Johnson, how they taught us about Dr. King. I have a dream speech, right? That's what they wanted us to remember. Okay. But because I thought Dr. King, we in school, we'd be paying attention. I really thought he had died in 1963 or something like that. That I Have a Dream speech was the last thing that he did. But once my dad started teaching me politics and talk about Miss Crenshaw, was sad because they didn't want us to know the Dr. King that had opened his eyes. He didn't die because he had a dream. He died because he woke up, right? And so Dr. King had said, I really believe that I have led my people into a burning building, right? Because he was talking about unity, and what happened was the racist people, right, that was holding Black people back, they had decided, okay, it ain't no problem for them and have their children to integrate with us into schools and to come and be in the pissy restrooms with us. We pissing all over the seats, and they can walk in with us, and we ain't got no issues with that. What we want to do is, because they started separating their Black dollar and they stopped putting the Black dollar and started almost making a lot of these businesses like Wonder Bread and all of them go bankrupt. And so what started happening was they started putting those Black dollars in the Black community. They was going to build another Black Wall Street, right? So what they decided was, well, you know what? It ain't going to be no problem because they got still, even though they Black, even though we still think the same about them, even though we can just secretly start doing it, we'll start, the police officers are still racist. We still got the white racist establishment. We'll find other ways to hide keeping them down, right? But we'll do all of this so we can continue to get the Black dollar, right? And so we'll do all of this to continue getting the Black dollar. And so what they did was, that's what they did. And Dr. King understood that. And he said, I do believe that I have led my people into a burning building. And he was getting ready to go back a month before they assassinated him to do another march on Washington, to demand that, just like they did for the Jews. Now, I don't have no issues with the Jewish people, but what happened to them in Germany, and they was giving them a stifle. Okay. They was giving them money in the United States for what had happened to them in the concentration camps. But here Black people was brought to the United States against their will, built up a lot of these businesses, because a lot of these rich people are rich from their ancestors off of the backs of Black people working every day for free. Help me, somebody. So Dr. King had an epiphany, and he had the people that was still behind him, and they knew he had the masses together, ready to do another walk on Washington. And they assassinated him because he was going to demand, okay, that black people, that they started doing for black people what they was doing for the Jewish people, right? And so that's why they've down through the years they've tried to get other people, black people, to say, "Oh, you still waiting on your 40 acres and a mule," but that's what they promised our ancestors. Hell, land is where it's at. I do want my damn 40 acres and a mule. I want it. That's what they promised them, and I want my 40 acres, right? But what they've tried to do is make it like a derogatory. Oh, black people still, they lazy, they still talking about that 40 acres and a mule. But that's what they promised our ancestors when they was beating them and raping them and making them work for free. And they still didn't give it to it. As a matter of fact, black people that ended up like my great grandfather, okay, my granddaddy's father, who had a lot of land out in I believe it was out in Tipton somewhere. My granddaddy said that he could not read and write. And so what they did was he said that his mother had died at an early age. He said that his mother was like 30 something years or 40 something years younger than her dad. I started talking to my granddaddy one day, my dad's dad, about his mom and all that. And so he said, I don't know why, they allowed my mom to marry someone so old. He said, I knew it had to be a financial situation, but she died young. And he said that she could read and write, but his dad couldn't. And so what they did was my great grandfather had all of that land out in some parts of Tennessee, and they tricked him into signing it over to them. So not only did they not give 40 acres and a mule, the black people that had worked hard and bought land, they was tricking them into signing their land over to them, right? That's why my dad and my grandfather had started buying a lot of land like out in those areas and stuff, right? So I think we should start going back, because I love to eat and feast on learning about people that came before us. And it makes me so proud when I can, talk about like my dad who was a fierce leader and who didn't bend, right? Who was fierce and didn't bend. And the idea that I am a part of that legacy, it makes me proud, even though it hurts me. That I go, dog, I don't feel like I got enough time with my dad, just as I feel like I was I was getting comfortable in what he was training me to be. Now he's gone. I'm like, dog, I gotta, hey, he's imparted this into me. Like, how do I move on without my dad? Because I was like, my dad, it was my safety shield. If I fell back, I already knew that my dad was gonna have my back. I'm like, now who do I trust? I don't know how to continue on, right? But like they said, the show must go on, right? The show must go on. You have to continue on. You have to take that impartation and not allow what the people pour into you to be in vain. So what my dad did was he took the mantle that Miss Crenshaw gave him and he ran with it. Because I think about, you talk about jobs like city, there were city jobs where they wouldn't hire that, back then they was paying a lot of money for city jobs. And so they would have these clauses for years and years, and black people never tried to fight it. Whereas like family members could not work on certain city jobs, right? These were jobs that was paying a lot of money. And that's something that ended up happening with my dad and my grandfather. So my grandfather had been working a city job forever, but he had started building a business. A man that could not read and write, right? Built a business that he still works today at 80 something years old, almost 90 years old. He looks good, he does good, and he has workers, right? And so my grandfather said he remember, because my dad and my grandfather had the same name. And so my grandfather said he was building his business, and he was like, well, I'm going to, my dad got a job there, and he said, I knew that they was gonna find out that was my son. He said, so I was like, I'm gonna stay here until they say something. He said, not sure, I had been there so long, I could retire. He said, but I was enjoying, still being there and building my business. And he said, I remember, he said, somebody gave me a heads up, they gonna fire your son. They found out that y'all are related. And so my grandfather said, I was contemplating that. And when they called me to human resources, I knew that they was getting ready to tell me that they was going to fire my son. He said, so they're going to fire your dad. He said, so your dad had just had you. And he said, as I was walking, I said, well, I'm going to go on when I walk in here and let them know that I'm going to retire, because I'm not going to let them fire my son, because my son just had a daughter, right? And so my grandfather said when he got in there, they was like, there's no nepotism, this and that. We're gonna have to let your son go. And he said, I told him, no, I'm gonna file my retirement papers right now. I'm gonna leave. My son has a young family, a growing family, just had a baby. Okay. He said, I knew I had started growing my business, right? So, and I had enough years where I could retire. So I left. Don't y'all know, years later, the reason I'm bringing up this story is because this is what they did in the city of Memphis. Oh, well, we have this nepotism clause because they wanted to keep Black people out as far as making working good jobs. Whereas they had been doing it. It's just that they had different last names and people couldn't challenge that. But this was a way for them to keep Black people in the city of Memphis from getting good jobs. Well, you can't work at this job because your cousin work here. You can't work at this job because your mama work here, right? But the reason I bring that up is because this story has such a significance to it, because years later, after Miss Cornelia Crenshaw trained my father on how to be a fierce politician, okay? On how to be a fierce elected official. My daddy fought that clause. My daddy fought that clause and got that shit thrown out. Okay. And that's why I always say what we have to do is we have to stop being laxed on, well, that's just how it's always been. I don't accept that. Just because that's the way it has always been, it don't mean that it's right. We got to stop taking stuff laying down. But what happens is we sell out for $1. As soon as we start organizing and getting something together, we'll sell out for a piece of damn cornbread. But they gave me a big old cornbread. They said they said that it's Louis Vuitton cornbread. There ain't no repercussions, and it has not been since Malcolm X and them. There are no repercussions for other Black people selling out in the Black community or nobody else. There has to be some repercussions, right? You got to know, if we're organizing for the betterment and the future of our people, if you think you're going to get your ass and infiltrate and sell us out to hurt us, you got to know you got to die about it. It ain't no other way. Okay? You can sell out for that money, but you ain't going to be able to spend it. You think you're going to kill one of our leaders? That's unacceptable. You got to know you're going to die about it. Okay? It ain't no other way, because people scared of dying. But instead, what we want to do is we accept people killing leaders like Dolph. Well, he thought he was something else. The minds of our people is screwed up. That's why I say we got to have a renewal of the mind. We'll take down another person. I'm going to get her fired from her job because Massa mad. My white woman is mad. I'm going to get her fired. You're a part of the problem, you buck. Okay? There has to be a renewal of the mind in our community. Okay? There has to be a renewal of the mind. That's right. That's what they're selling out for. Okay? There has to be a renewal of the mind in our community. Okay? It's easy for our community to sell out for a dime, okay, or to sell out. Well, they had gave me a house. I was doing bad. You've been doing bad your whole life. All you got to do is decide you're gonna do good. You sell out the future of your people for a house and some money. That's too expensive. It's got to be some repercussions behind that. Because if your ass keep on, okay, the show must go on. If you continue on in the fight, you're gonna make it better for the future of your people. But see, I'm gonna tell you something. People are selfish. Our community has gotten real selfish. Okay. Our community has gotten selfish because it's about me, myself, and our folks don't even think about their kids. They don't think about their children. It's about me. What we do now, we're supposed to be doing and trying to make it better for the people that come behind us. And trust me, this ain't nothing racist. White people do it every single day. They do it every single day. Everything that they do, even if they say I ain't got no problem with you, but everything they do is going to be for the betterment of their community. And it ain't nothing wrong with us doing that, but for some reason we got a problem and people put guilt trips on us when we stand firm about our community. We ain't even got no loyalty to our community. Okay? We've been told we racist if we hold loyalty to our community, right? But other people do it every day. Okay? So I wanted to celebrate our ancestors, and it made me proud to be able to talk about my dad without crying. Because sometimes I get to trying to talk about my dad and I get to crying, okay? Because my dad worked and fought hard for 40 years for the people of Memphis, right? But what he did was he passed the mantle. He imparted something in all of his children, whether they want to use it or not. I do. I understand that I have girls, and one day, as my dad used to say, I'm gonna be off of the scene. And I want to know that I left some type of legacy to make my children proud, right? Because it's not about me. It's about the people that come behind us, okay? People got to get out of being, it's about me, myself, and I'm just trying to live my life. You ain't shit. That's it. You just ain't shit. But you need to change that. Just because you ain't shit now don't mean you gonna be ain't shit next year. All you got to do is work to change that being ain't shit person. Okay, just because you ain't shit don't mean you got to be that your whole life. All you got to do is just change your mind. That's why I always talk about a different mindset. I don't mean no harm when I say that you ain't shit. But all you got to do is have a renewal of the mind, and then you'll have some substance. We got to start being real with people. You ain't shit. But all you got to do is have a renewal of the mind. Okay? And have some substance. You can change that. Because see, when people tell folks they ain't shit, that's the end of the story. You ain't shit. That's the end of the story. No, you ain't shit. But guess what? You can change that. You got to put hope in folks. You got to tell them the truth, and then you tear them down and build them back up. But you can be something. But you ain't shit. But do you want to be something? Okay. Well, then let me see if I can guide you to somebody to help you be something. Okay. I always talk about, I saw the men in my family work hard. Well, going back to my grandfather, I need to talk about him too. He's we got to celebrate him too. I think about my grandfather. Don't y'all know my grandfather couldn't even read and write when he started his tree business? And so when my grandfather started his tree business, he couldn't even read and write, but he knew numbers real well. And so even back in the 90s, when it was really almost unheard of, especially around, because my granddad and them came up in North Memphis. When they moved from Henning, it was Henning, Tennessee. Him and all his brothers, they migrated to North Memphis, right? That's why my dad grew up in North Memphis until he was 17. Then he came to the Whitehaven area and he met my mama, and then they had me and all that. Their life got better when they had me, okay? my auntie was talking about, girl, you came out talking. And she said, when you was a baby, your dad used to say, did you hear what she said? Like the words and stuff, what I would say, I was smart alecky, and it was so funny to my dad. He said, did you hear what Krista said? Did you hear what she said? When I was 1 and 2 years old, I was fussing and talking back, right? And my auntie was saying, oh, and it used to be so funny to your dad. He said, say it again, say it again. Y'all hear my baby talking? I don't remember none of that. But she said you was fussing at 1 and 2 years old, right? And so, but my grandfather, when he started building his tree business, okay, my grandfather said his truck had broken down. My granddad always had this old truck, right? And so my granddad said his truck had broken down. He said so he would tell his ride, drop him off in North Memphis. By this time, they had left North Memphis and moved to Whitehaven. And so my granddaddy said I would tell him to drop me off in neighborhoods in North Memphis, and he would walk from door to door, knocking on the door. He would look at the trees that was in their yards, right? And he said he would go and knock on the door. My grandfather has always been a deacon ever since I had a memory. And my earliest memory is 5 years old, okay? He was a deacon at the damn church then. And so my granddaddy said he would knock on the door, and he would say, can I speak to the man of the house? And then when the man of the house would come to the door, he would say, start telling them about why they needed to cut the limbs down on their trees, why a tree needed to be uprooted and stuff like that. That's how he built his clientele. My granddad was old even then. Okay. So that's how he built his clientele, by going on feet after he got off work, knocking on doors and asking for the man of the house and talking to them about the trees that was in their yard, in their backyard, and how it was going to be a problem. And that's how he got business, right? And so then he said what he would do was he would walk the majority of the way home until he could catch a bus. Okay, that's a hardworking Black man. And so, and even now he's still creating jobs for people. And he said, I can't sit down. He said, the moment I decide to retire, I might die. So he won't retire. Right. And he got people and families that he employed that depends on him. So he ain't cutting out trees. He be standing out there. He just be standing out there looking at him, but it makes him happy to do that. Right. And so that's one of the reasons why I have this thing. I'm going to tell y'all something. It could be a mental illness. I don't know. But it turns me on to see a man working hard. When I see him working hard, I be trying to keep, baby, change the light, do this, go cut the grass, go do that. It turns me on. It makes me want to be the best that I can be for a hard working man, because that's what I grew up around. Okay. That's what I grew up around. Change the light. I used to have this guy I used to talk to. He said, I knew when I walked in this house, she was going to have something for me to do. He just didn't know it was making it better for him, because we was going together. So it was, the harder he worked, the better it was for him that night. He didn't even realize that, right? But we have to start remembering and honoring our ancestors, right? Right? We have to start honoring and remembering them, because we forget. He said, did you hear? No, what did Roland you gonna get your ass tore out the frame. Get off our damn back. I don't know what's going on with y'all. I guess she in heat, but you sit right here by me. I'm not playing with y'all. I don't know what y'all, look, do not do this while I'm on the phone. Okay. You can't, that's your sister. Look at me. That's your sister. You can't be on her back, okay? All right. That's your sister. You can't do that. So you just lay right here next to me, okay? You can't hump on your sister. That's nasty. That's incest, okay? What did Roland Martin say about Memphis? What did Roland Martin say about Memphis? Now, let me just say this, because I know everybody want to talk about Paul Young. And listen, this might not be, what everybody want to hear. Okay. But hey, Irvin Matt, this might not be what everybody want to hear, but Paul Young is a good person. Memphis didn't just become messed up. You had AC Warden that was in there 4 years, Jim Strickland that was in there 8 years, didn't do a damn thing. Now what they've done is they paid the black people to really just go against Paul Young, because a lot of those black people I'm gonna get somebody free today up in here. A lot of those black people that was getting grants from the white mayor to keep their mouths quiet and to mislead the black church and the Christian black people, that feel like they just keep their eyes closed, don't want to do nothing because they waiting on God. Okay. What has happened is a lot of them ain't getting that money. He ain't paying them to do that. Y'all, it's a fly in my house, but you gonna die today, fly. I open that patio and they come up in my darn house. And so now what they're doing is they're paying a lot of these black people to attack Paul. Memphis got to be out, excuse my French, but Memphis got to be out of their motherfucking minds. They know damn well that crime started to get out of control when they had that white mayor in office, but they dare not say nothing about Jim Strickland, who was never shit. Even when he was on the city council, he was selling out the black community. But he did it with a grin. And when it was time to be reelected, he went in the black community with cheese sandwiches and on the damn basketball court. No, he was going to have a damn heart attack kissing black babies, greasing the palms of a lot of these black preachers. And they brainwashed the black people. Now, all of a sudden, Paul Young is doing something different than a lot of those people who was getting that money and them grants to keep the damn mouth quiet. When crime was out of control up under Strickland, the white man, nobody said a damn word. Now all of a sudden, Paul Young been in there 2 years and they want to crucify him. We got to open our damn eyes. You're not going to hear me crucify him, because I'm going to tell you something right now. I used to go over there to Paul Young and them church, and now I'm not, I'm partial to Paul Young, but I got to speak truth when it's some truth. Okay. I saw how Paul Young and his family would always help people to get jobs. Okay? They always help people to get jobs. So that's not a bad dude, and he's not selfish. But they got the black community who's used to getting these grants to keep their damn mouth closed from the white establishment. They got them teaming up against him to make him look bad to the black people, when black people in Memphis, don't make me say that. Don't make me say nothing now. Don't make me say you, okay? Because y'all know how my mouth get. But I'll say it like this. Y'all ain't shit. If y'all sit up and try and crucify this man, crime was out of control 8, 9, 12 years up under Warden. It started to really get out of control. Jim Strickland, it got way out of control. And now this man been in office for 2 years, and because they ain't getting what they want from him. See, my dad used to always say what they fussing about and what they mad about. Hell, them motherfuckers wasn't fussing when crime was out of control when that white man was in office, because he was giving them grants to keep their motherfucking mouth quiet. A lot of these black Sambos that's been selling out the community. And now Paul get into office and they want to crucify him. They screaming on every rooftop, we black people, and he ain't doing this because your ass ain't getting that grant to keep your mouth quiet and to make him look good. You ain't in. So I've always said this, and I will always say this. I'm mad at a motherfucker. My throat hurting. Okay? The issue in our community ain't white people. It's black people in our mindset. We be willing, we're like crabs in a bucket. We willing to try to take down anybody when we don't get what we want. Damn the betterment of the whole community. But we're going to take him down because he ain't greasing my palms to keep my mouth closed and act like that he is a good person. I ain't getting my grant no more grants that you ain't doing shit with it anyways. When you get grants, it's supposed to be to help the community. So he ain't giving you, he ain't greasing your palms like the white man did, because that's what they do. A lot of white people, they will come into your community and tear up your community. They do it with a smile, but they grease up. Well, you know, just like the slave master, I'm gonna take care of you. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. And all the time they raking you over the damn coals. Crime ain't just started in Memphis. It's been out of control for 12 years. And Paul getting up for 2 years, and we expect for him to have a 1 and make it better. This man got to undo everything that the folks before him was doing. And you got all these damn cuckabug heads that need to die out. A lot of them. Oftentimes, for the black community to get better, a lot of these old wicked mofos going to have to die out with their tactics. A lot of them already on they diabetics and got glaucoma and cataract, can't see, mouth and shit twisted all the way to the back, stomach and stuff hanging all out. And they still evil. So our issue in our community ain't the white man, it's the black folks. Okay? It's the black leaders that is pushing their own agenda. And black people don't know how to open up their mouth. Well, I'm just going to let the Lord tell me. No, the Lord going to work it out. Faith without works is dead. Your ass going to have to get up and do something. But don't nobody want to hear that. You're going to have to get your ass up and do something. You can't just close your eyes and act like this stuff ain't going on or just listen to somebody else. Crime been out of control. I've been in Memphis my whole life. It's been out of control for 12 years. How is that Paul's fault? So can't nobody come on here and talk about Paul, because I'm going to tell it like it is. Okay? It's got to be some repercussions for these sellouts. They'll stop then. Instead, we're going to take out Young Dolph because he think he's something. And then y'all asses get behind Gotti. Gotti ain't even supposed to be able to have a damn business in Memphis with the tactics that they did. They take out another leader that's putting back in the community. Folks like that ain't supposed to be able to set up shop. We supposed to run them out. I don't mean no harm, Gotti, but you can't set up no business here. And you taking resourceful people out of our community when you know Memphis is in a state of emergency and impoverished, and you take out a leader that give back. You can't set up shop here, nigga. But instead, we don't do that. We like the antics and the tactics. Ooh, he got on that jewelry. Ooh, he doing better than Young Dolph. He can't compete with a man that's in his grave. He fouled out. He took out his competition. Nigga, you fouled out. You cheated. But you think you're going to set up shop here? No, you can't do that. It's got to be some repercussions all the way across the board, not just in Memphis. So the issue ain't just the white man. As a matter of fact, it ain't the white man now, it's black folks. We are our own worst enemy. Okay? Whew. Lord have mercy. I had to go there because we celebrating our ancestors. Our ancestors, we didn't come from that. Black women didn't come from that. I got Miss Crenshaw right there at the top of the page. That's what we came from. We stand on the shoulders of that. We ain't no damn baby mamas and hoes and bitches and all of that. We come from people that work hard. This woman out there marching, getting Dr. King to Memphis, laying out the red carpet. Brother, you stay in our house. We're going to lay out the red carpet for the king. And in return, he told her a lot of the secrets that she was able to tell my father that my dad was able to pass on to me. That's what it's about. We're supposed to keep those legacies going, but instead we're selling out for a damn pork chop that was spoiled about 6 months ago. They gave me a steak. That steak was bloody and old and rotten and all of that. But you talking about they gave me one of them $200 steaks and you done sold your community out. But you got to die though, brother. I hope that raw ass steak, that rotten ass steak they gave you was good, because it's going to be your last one. Because what you doing is you holding our community back. We ain't got no repercussions in place. And I ain't talking about kill people, but it's got to be something put in place. We got to be proactive. So as long as we disorganized and jealous hearted and letting people infiltrate and selling out our community. We ain't going nowhere. That's why I like to sit by myself. I'll go somewhere and sit in my room and stare up at the damn TV or read a book. Because if I have to put out a message and do it by myself, it's only 34 people on here. I don't give a damn. Okay, and you got black people on here sabotaging that. We gonna fix our numbers. Fuck a number. Okay, I don't care if I got 2 people on here. You know why? Because as long as I can reach them too, I'm reaching somebody. You can't stop me. You can't stop me. I got a TV show. I get out. I know how to talk to people. I know how to get out and work. This ain't my source. I get on here to push knowledge, but this ain't my source. I makes money. So this ain't my source. So when you wasting your mentally ill time trying to mess with my numbers, I still wins because I gets money. I know how to get it. Okay? And if your ass wasn't so pathetic, I probably could put you up on some game on how to get it. Okay? But this is the stuff that going in our community. We're gonna mess with her number because I'm just buy my subscribers so people think I'm better than her. You can't beat me. Okay? You can't beat me. You can't beat a person that's confident in what they do. I understand what my calling is, so you can't beat me in my own calling. You can't. That's passion. I don't know if you're black or white, but that's passion. But you're going to have to get your ass up out of here because I ain't angry about nothing. If I'm angry about anything, I'm angry about how pathetic our people have become. Because we the chosen ones. So if you come up in here with those, you don't speak that on me while I am in my mode. Don't come in here speaking those words up against me. I send it back to your ass. Do not come in here speaking out those types of words in my chat because I will block you. When I'm in my mode, you don't come in here speaking those words out in my damn chat. This mine. I'm trying to get my people free. Okay. Do you want me to block you? MVP, do you want to be blocked? Just let me know if you want to be blocked. I'm going to give you the opportunity to decide. See, that's how fair I am. Do you want to be blocked? Because, see, you coming up in here with the wrong spirit. Do you want me to block you? See, that's the good thing about me. I give a person a choice. Okay. Since you don't know how to answer it, you gone. I'll help you out. You just stay in the bushes and be a damn fan, you freak. You just stay in the bushes and be a fan because you don't know how to come up in here and do right. So we already know you're a fan. You got a fake page. You a freak and all that. So you just going to have to stay in the bushes. Go make you another damn page. And when you come up in this motherfucker on that energy, I'm going to block you on that one. I runs this shit up in here. Okay? But we got to do better as a community. Okay? We got to do better. We got to change our mindset. We so busy blaming everybody else for what go on in the black community. The white man is trying to keep me down. Ain't no white man made you go and rob and steal in your own community. Ain't no white man made you go and rape a woman and a little girl and snatching up little girls and putting them in trafficking like that. Well, you know the Europeans. I'm a pimp because the Europeans trying to keep us down. Ain't no white man made your ass do that. You don't want to go get a job. You want to come up off of traumatizing women and little girls, which is why you can't catch a break. This curse has got to be broken. Black people being given too many excuses to do wrong. Yeah, I understand there's a system in place to do certain things to black people, but we know what it is. Why aren't we getting together, coming up against that? Instead, we coming up with excuses on why we got to be doing wrong. All it takes is unity. There's power in numbers. But we don't know how to get together. Well, you know, Dr. King, they admiring him. Even though what Dr. King was doing was helping the black community. People don't know how to allow that jealous demon to stay down. They don't know how to control themselves, which is why they do basically what it is that they want to do. Yeah, I gotta go. It's 12:30. Let's see, 12:30. If I gotta go record my clients. See, MVP, I'm gonna tell you what I'm getting ready to go do. I gotta I have a video business. I have a production company. And so I have an account with Memphis Light Gas and Water. Okay. Memphis Light Gas and Water rakes in billions, millions of dollars. Okay. And so what I do is I go and they have me to do their commercials. They have me to produce their TV show. That's how I do it. My dad helped me to get that account. He's the man. And the people there, they continue that on. Okay, because they want to invest. They got another man there now that was my dad's predecessor. He helps to continue on that legacy. He helps to help Black businesses. He's a good man. He continuing on with helping the Black community. Okay. And so what I'm getting ready to do is I'm getting ready to go over there and do some video work for them because YouTube don't pay a motherfucking bill I got. What I got to be angry about. Okay. I exude a lot of passion because it's like our community consistently come up with excuses. Y'all know what my dad told me? Mediocrity ain't an option for a Black woman. He said, do you hear me, gal? Mediocrity is not an option. So I don't do mediocre shit, bitch. I'm going to make some money, okay? Some real money. All right. But I'm going to get back on here tonight. Shout out to our ancestors. We're celebrating Juneteenth. Okay. I do love you all. The people that's been in here with me forever, they know how I get down. They don't get mad at me. They're used to me. See, you could have been gotten used to me too. Okay. Thank you, Carrie Marshall. You could have got used to me too if you want a damn fool. Now you blocked and you got to go make another page like you always do. Okay. But listen, you guys, I do love you all. I was supposed to be there at 12:30. I get there at 1 o'clock. I got to jump in the shower and jump in. I don't go nowhere without taking a shower. That's how I do it. Okay. Anyways, you guys, I love you guys. I'll be back on tonight. I'll talk with you later.